Have you ever stopped to wonder, are you truly seeing the world as it is, or only as your mind lets you? What if everything you believed, every judgment you made, every choice you thought was rational, was being filtered through invisible distortions? Welcome back, Stoic seekers. Today we're peeling back the layers of perception and diving deep into the mind itself to uncover the biases that quietly shape our reality. In our last episodes, we tackled perception, emotional, mastery, and self-awareness, powerful pillars of the Stoic way of life. But today, in part 4 of our Stoicism series, we unlock a new dimension of mental strength, unbiased thought. Picture your mind as a lens, clear, powerful, capable of focusing on truth. But like any lens, it can be smudged, clouded by assumptions, distractions, emotions, and unchecked beliefs. What you see isn't always what is, it's what your mind lets you see. That's why the ancient Stoics, practical philosophers of steel-like discipline, devoted their lives to clearing that lens. Through powerful mental exercises, reflection, and reasoned practice, they taught us how to think, not react, to observe, not absorb, and to choose clarity over chaos. So in this episode, we'll explore 10 transformative Stoic lessons that will sharpen your mind like a sword, cutting through noise, bias, and illusion. You'll discover how to protect your thoughts from negativity, dismantle ego and dogma, cultivate intellectual humility, embrace silence as a tool for clarity, and harness every moment as an opportunity for growth. If you're ready to shed the mental fog, escape the traps of cognitive distortion, and start living with sharper awareness and rational strength, then stay with me. This may just be the mindset shift you didn't know you needed. And if you find value in today's episode, don't forget to like, share, and bring more seekers into this growing circle of wisdom. Mind Makeover, the Stoic blueprint for mental sculpting. Let's start with a truth that's as simple as it is transformative. Your mind becomes what you repeatedly think about. No, this isn't just a motivational quote plastered on a Pinterest board. This is a timeless Stoic principle, one echoed across centuries by thinkers who understood the mind's true power. Imagine your mind as clay, soft, malleable, alive. Every thought is a sculptor's touch, every belief, a tool carving its shape. Over time, these mental impressions become form, structure, identity. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought, for the human spirit is colored by such impressions. You're not just a passive receiver of thoughts, you are an active creator of your inner world. That inner dialogue you replay, it builds neural highways. Those self-defeating beliefs you let linger, they take root. The assumptions you never challenge, they become filters over your eyes. The mental diet. What are you feeding your mind? Let's make this concept real. Think of your mind like your physical body, and your thoughts like the food you consume. If you constantly feed it mental junk, negativity, comparison, fear, resentment, don't be surprised when your inner world becomes chaotic and tired. Just like living off soda and sugar, a steady stream of toxic thoughts will drain your vitality, clarity, and peace. But what happens when you start feeding it differently? Gratitude, patience, curiosity, discipline. You'll notice a shift, not just in how you think, but how you respond. Decisions become clearer, reactions become calmer. Your confidence grows, not as arrogance, but as a deep-rooted trust in your own mind. The Stoics were obsessed with this mental diet. They knew that every moment, you're either sculpting a masterpiece or letting your mind melt into chaos. So ask yourself, are you training your thoughts, or are your thoughts training you? The power of habitual thinking, the Stoics understood. Something modern neuroscience now confirms. Repetition rewires the brain. Whatever you dwell on, good or bad, becomes easier to think about the next time. That's how habits form. That's how thought loops develop. And that's how bias becomes invisible. They encouraged frequent self-reflection, journaling, and meditative repetition of virtuous principles to replace reactive thoughts with reasoned response. You're not born with a fixed mindset, you're born with a moldable one. And if you want mental clarity, peace, and power, then you must treat your thoughts like precious material. A practice for today. Thought audit. Tonight, before bed, take 5 minutes. Grab a notebook or your phone. Write down the 3 thoughts that dominated your mind today. Were they empowering or draining? Were they true or just emotional echoes? This tiny act of awareness is the first step in sculpting a Stoic mind. Previously, we explored how your mind is sculpted by the thoughts you repeatedly entertain. Now, let's take that insight one step further. Because even when we know our thoughts shape our reality, we often forget who's really in control of what gets in. The mind's bouncer, guarding the gates of your mental castle. Let's face it, our minds love patterns. They cling to the familiar, the routine, the automatic. The Stoics knew this well. They recognized that our thinking tends to slip into autopilot, rehashing the same old thoughts, beliefs, and emotional scripts like a playlist stuck on repeat. But here's the powerful twist. They also believed we have the power to break the cycle. Yes, habitual thinking is real, but so is the ability to reprogram the mind. To take the wheel back from unconscious patterns and drive with intention, clarity, and strength. Epictetus, the Stoic teacher and former slave who found freedom not in circumstance but in thought, put it this way: keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Now read that again, but apply it not just to people. Apply it to your thoughts, your inner circle of thought. Who do you let occupy your mental space? Are they the uplifting kind or the draining kind? Because just as toxic people can drag us down, toxic thoughts, resentment, fear, self-doubt, comparison can clutter our inner world and color every experience with gloom. The Stoics challenge us to be selective, to consciously choose the thoughts we engage with, just as carefully as we would choose our closest friends. Every moment, you are either reinforcing old patterns or laying the groundwork for a new, more empowered way of thinking. Modern day mirrors. How this shows up in real life. Let's bring this home with something familiar. Imagine waking up, grabbing your phone, and scrolling through a storm of angry tweets, bleak headlines, and algorithm-fed outrage. By the time you've finished your coffee, your mind is already soaking in anxiety and frustration. No surprise you're feeling cynical about the world. That's what you've been mentally consuming. Your mental castle has been left wide open, and the noise has marched right in. But now imagine the opposite. You set boundaries. You limit your exposure to negativity. Instead, you feed your mind with uplifting podcasts, inspiring stories, music that calms, and words that remind you of your strength. It won't be overnight, but slowly, steadily, something shifts. You start to feel lighter, more optimistic, more in control. That's not magic. That's mental hygiene. That's Stoicism in action. A personal battle. Self-doubt and the inner critic. Here's another scenario. Maybe more personal. Maybe you've been wrestling with thoughts like, I'm not good enough. I always mess up. I'll never measure up. Sound familiar? Those thoughts, they echo, they replay, they stick, and if left unchallenged, they start building walls around your potential. But what if you stopped accepting them as truth? What if instead you challenged those thoughts? What if you reminded yourself daily of your strengths, your efforts, the times you overcame, the small wins, the kindness you've shown, the skills you've honed? Gradually, you'd notice something remarkable. The voice inside begins to change. It becomes softer, kinder, stronger. It begins to believe in you. Because here's the secret. Confidence isn't some mystical gift. It's a byproduct of what you feed your mind every single day. The Stoic challenge: be the architect of your mind. The Stoics didn't promise a life free from pain or struggle. They didn't suggest we ignore the darkness or pretend everything is fine. What they offered was far more powerful: a way to face reality as it is, while choosing to focus on what uplifts, strengthens, and empowers us to rise. They challenged us to become architects of the inner world, to examine each thought before it enters the gates, to ask, does this serve me? Does this bring me closer to virtue, clarity, peace? And if the answer is no, let it go. An invitation to you: design your mental diet. So here's a challenge for today. Take a moment to reflect on your mental diet. What are the dominant thoughts that occupy your mind lately? Are they lifting you or limiting you? And more importantly, what new thoughts will you invite in? Let's make a quiet commitment today to feed our minds with what nourishes, not depletes. Let's challenge the inner critic and replace it with a wiser inner coach. Let's become more mindful of every belief we entertain, because every thought is a brushstroke in the mental painting of your life. Previously, we talked about being the bouncer at the gates of your mental castle, carefully screening what thoughts you allow in. But even the best gatekeepers need strong walls behind them, because in today's noisy world, intrusions don't knock, they barge right in. Build your mental fortress, guarding your inner sanctuary. Imagine your mind as a grand, serene castle, a sacred space of purpose, clarity, and peace. Inside, your aspirations, your values, and your inner wisdom reside. But just like any real castle, it needs solid walls and watchful guards to defend against threats. And let's be honest, in the modern world, those threats are everywhere. They sneak in disguised as endless news updates, social media bickering, toxic relationships, and even your own inner critic whispering that you're not enough. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor and philosopher, warned of these exact invaders in his Meditations. Drama, combat, terror, numbness, subservience. Every day these things wipe out your sacred principles. Whenever your mind entertains them uncritically or lets them slip in. In other words, every time we let fear or chaos occupy our minds without resistance, we weaken our inner fortress. We allow our sacred clarity to be chipped away. And here's the truth: you wouldn't invite just anyone into your home. So why let just any thought or influence set up camp in your mind? The age of overload. Why we're more vulnerable than ever. From the moment we wake up, our minds are under siege. Notifications, breaking news, advertisements, influencers, gossip. It's like trying to take a peaceful sip of water from a fire hose. We scroll, we compare, we react, sometimes before we've even brushed our teeth. It's no wonder we feel anxious, restless, or drained before the day has truly begun. And while the ancient Stoics didn't have to battle with Instagram algorithms or 24-hour news cycles, they still recognized a timeless truth: your mind becomes what it consumes. The principle remains the same, only the battlefield has changed. The Stoic filter: 4 tools to guard your mind. So how do we defend our mental peace in a world that thrives on distraction? How do we filter out the noise and let in only the nourishment? The Stoics left us with clear, actionable strategies. Think of them as filters for your mental inputs, a way to purify what you allow into your sacred space. Be selective with your inputs: what you read, what you watch, who you follow, who you speak with. These choices matter more than we admit. You wouldn't let someone track mud into your home, so why let a toxic newsfeed or a complaining friend pollute your mental clarity? Be intentional. Curate your digital space like a garden. Choose media that inspires, informs, or elevates. Limit your exposure to outrage, clickbait, and chaos. You don't have to live in a bubble, but you also don't have to drink poison just because it's popular. Practice mindfulness. Modern life pushes us to react. Stoicism teaches us to pause. When your thoughts start spiraling into worry, fear, or comparison. Notice it. Don't judge it. Simply observe and return to the present. Feel your breath. Notice the light in the room. Listen to the sounds around you. This isn't just a New Age trick. It's a Stoic practice of anchoring the mind. Because only in the present moment can we regain clarity and perspective. Question your thoughts. Here's a powerful truth. Not every thought you think is true. Some are echoes of fear. Some are assumptions dressed as facts. Some are voices you inherited from others, parents, society, past trauma. The Stoics didn't accept thoughts blindly. They challenged them. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is this fear real or just imagined? Is this belief lifting me or limiting me? By treating your thoughts like visitors, some welcome, some not, you gain power over them. You decide who stays. Use positive affirmations to reshape your inner dialogue. Negative self-talk is one of the most insidious invaders. It sneaks in, whispers lies, and, if left unchecked, builds a prison of doubt around your potential. The Stoic solution? Counter it. Intentionally. Replace "I'm not good enough" with "I am learning and growing every day." Swap "I always fail" for "every setback is shaping my resilience." You're not lying to yourself. You're reclaiming the truth. You are more capable, more resilient, and more valuable than your fears would have you believe. Write these affirmations down. Say them aloud. Make them part of your daily mental diet. Over time, they'll become more than words. They'll become belief. Brick by brick, you build your castle. Every thought you guard, every distraction you resist, every truth you choose adds a brick to your mental fortress. And while the world may keep knocking, loud, relentless, tempting, you now have the tools to protect your peace. In our last segment, we learned how to guard the gates of our mental castle by curating what enters and staying vigilant against distractions and toxic influences. Now, let's take a closer look at how these mental intrusions often play out in the real world and what the Stoics suggest we do about them. Everyday intruders, Stoic solutions for modern mental traps. We're not living in ancient Rome, we're living in the digital age, a world of glowing screens, non-stop notifications, and endless emotional noise. And while the Stoics didn't have Twitter or TikTok to contend with, they understood the timeless patterns of the human mind. Let's walk through a few modern-day mental traps and how Stoic wisdom can help us reclaim peace, purpose, and power in a world that often feels overwhelming. The doom-scrolling spiral. You know how it goes. You pick up your phone to check something quickly, and suddenly, it's been 45 minutes. You've read 5 alarming headlines, stumbled into a stranger's online argument, and now you're feeling tense, angry, or hopeless, and you haven't even had breakfast yet. This is the doom-scrolling habit, a modern plague that floods your mind with negativity. And it's incredibly easy to fall into, especially when the world feels chaotic or uncertain. The Stoic solution? Set clear boundaries around your screen time. Be deliberate about what you consume. Unfollow accounts that trigger anxiety, mute the noise, and choose content that uplifts, educates, or inspires. And most importantly, make space for what nourishes you. Nature, books, exercise, deep conversations. Your peace of mind is too precious to waste on the emotional equivalent of junk food. The toxic friendship. Let's talk about relationships, the kind that drain you. Maybe you have that one friend, the one who's always gossiping, complaining, or stirring drama. The one who never seems to celebrate your wins, but always has something negative to say. After spending time with them, you don't feel energized. You feel exhausted, like a sponge that's been wrung dry. The Stoic solution. Set firm, compassionate boundaries. You don't have to cut them off entirely, but you can limit your exposure, shift the dynamic, and spend more of your time with people who support your growth. Remember, your energy is your responsibility, and as Epictetus might remind you, Don't surrender your peace to someone else's chaos. The self-doubt. Spiral, this one's personal, quiet, invasive. You keep questioning yourself. You look around and feel like everyone else is ahead. Smarter, better, more together. You tell yourself you're not good enough, that you'll fail, that you don't deserve success or love. These thoughts don't just hurt, they paralyze. And when left unchallenged, they create a self-fulfilling prophecy, blocking the very progress you long for. The Stoic solution: confront those thoughts head on with logic and truth. Ask yourself, is this thought based on fact or just fear? What's the evidence? What are my strengths? What have I overcome already? Write these answers down. Say them out loud. Affirm your worth, because confidence isn't born. It's built, brick by brick, thought by thought. The Stoic advantage: clearing the mind for growth. When you start being more mindful of what enters your mental space, something remarkable happens. You're not just blocking out negativity, you're making space. Space for optimism, space for resilience, space for deeper thinking, sharper focus, and richer experiences. You start cultivating a mental environment that supports your well-being, rather than sabotaging it. Your thoughts become less reactive, more intentional, your choices more aligned, your emotions more stable. It's not about pretending life is always good. It's about creating an inner world strong enough to withstand the outer storms. Treat your mind like your most valuable asset. The Stoics saw the mind as sacred. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they all believed that how you think determines how you live. So protect it, nourish it. Don't let just anything shape it. Not random opinions, not fleeting fears, not noisy distractions. You wouldn't give away your life savings to a stranger. So why give away your mental clarity to things that don't serve you? When you master this mental filtering, you unlock more than peace. You unlock power, not the kind that controls others, but the kind that gives you full control over yourself. And that, the Stoics would say, is the highest kind of freedom. In our last lesson, we explored how everyday circumstances, news, people, even your own thoughts, can cloud your inner clarity. Now, it's time to look even deeper at how reality itself can deceive us. Reality check. The Stoics' guide to seeing through the illusion. Let's be honest, life doesn't always present itself clearly. We get swept up in emotions, caught off guard by events, or dazzled by appearances, and before we know it, we've made decisions that feel right in the moment, but later lead to regret, confusion, or unnecessary pain. This is what the Stoics warned us about: the illusion of circumstance. The false sense that what's happening outside of us is more important than what we hold within. The illusion of the external. Think back to a time when you were fired up about a new project or opportunity. You were all in, vision clear, motivation high, ready to conquer the world. But then, something didn't go according to plan. The project failed, or someone rejected your idea, and suddenly it felt like your whole world was crumbling. Or maybe you experienced rejection, professionally, romantically, socially, and it hit you hard. You questioned your worth. You played it over and over in your mind. But weeks or months later, with a little distance, you realized that what felt like devastation was actually a turning point, a redirection, even a gift. These moments reveal a simple but powerful truth. Circumstances can be deceiving. They can lure us into overvaluing outcomes. They can blind us with excitement or crush us with disappointment. And they often tempt us to define our worth by external approval, material gain, or social status. But the Stoics remind us that true clarity lies in turning inward, anchoring ourselves in character, values, and perspective, the Stoic practice of discernment. So how do we see through these illusions? How do we, as the Stoics, say practice discernment, the ability to pierce through surface appearances and perceive what truly matters? Here are 4 powerful tools from the Stoic playbook. The pause button in a charged situation when emotions run high or decisions feel urgent. Pause, take a breath, step back, create space between stimulus and response. This pause allows reason to enter. It quiets the storm and opens a moment for reflection. Marcus Aurelius, journaling in the chaos of war and politics, returned to this practice again and again. To pause, reflect, then act. The objective lens try, to look at the situation as an outside observer. Strip away your emotions for a moment and ask, what are the facts? What outcomes are truly at stake here? What choice aligns with my values, not just my impulses? This practice gives you the clarity to respond wisely, rather than react blindly. The inner compass, your gut, your intuition, your quiet inner voice. Check in with it. Not every feeling should be followed, but none should be ignored. Ask yourself, what feels right? What feels off? Am I being pulled by truth or by fear? Let your emotions guide your awareness, but let your reason guide your decisions. The long view, take a step even further back, beyond today, beyond this week. Ask yourself, will this still matter in a year, in 5 years? What would my future self thank me for choosing? Putting things into perspective often shrinks what feels overwhelming and elevates what truly matters. Modern-day illusions, real examples from everyday life let's bring. This down to earth with some relatable scenarios. The job offer. Dilemma: you're offered a job with a shiny title, a big paycheck, and status. But the company culture feels toxic. The work drains your energy. It doesn't align with your values. The Stoic perspective? Don't be seduced by the surface. Instead, ask, does this move me closer to the life I truly want? Is this success by my definition or someone else's? Choose depth over decoration, integrity over illusion. The social media highlight reel. You scroll through your feed and see friends traveling to exotic places, showing off perfect families, careers, or lifestyles. Suddenly, your own life feels small, inadequate. Behind the Stoic response? Remember, social media is a highlight reel, not reality. Focus instead on your own blessings, your own path. True happiness isn't found in comparison. It's found in contentment and alignment with what truly fulfills you. The fear of missing out, FOMO. You feel pressure to say yes to every event, trend, or invitation, afraid you'll miss something important or fall behind. But saying yes to everything often means saying no to yourself. The Stoic solution? Prioritize what aligns with your values and goals. Make choices from purpose, not pressure. Missing out on what doesn't serve you isn't a loss, it's wisdom. The Stoic advantage. Seeing clearly, living fully. When you develop the skill of discernment, you're doing more than avoiding bad decisions. You're building a life of clarity, purpose, and peace. You're not just reacting to life, you're navigating it, not tossed by the waves, but steering your ship with intention. You become, as the Stoics would say, the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. So the next time you're caught in a swirl of excitement, disappointment, pressure, or confusion, pause, ask, reflect, then choose wisely. In our last lesson, we explored how Stoic discernment helps us see through the illusions of circumstance, so we can make clearer, wiser decisions grounded in truth. But what happens when life does go our way? When success knocks, applause rises, and admiration begins to flood in? That's where the next challenge begins. The ego trap, keeping your feet on the ground. When the world lifts you up, let's have a real heart-to-heart conversation about something that feels incredible, even addictive, but can quietly unravel. the best in us if we're not careful. Success. We all dream about it. Achieving greatness, reaching the top of our game, getting that promotion, recognition, or moment in the spotlight. And when it comes, it feels good, really good. But here's the Stoic warning. Success, left unchecked, can be just as dangerous as failure. Why? Because when things go wrong, we tend to reflect. But when things go right, we're more likely to forget. Forget where we came from. Forget the humility that helped us grow. Forget that success is fragile, just as easily lost as it was gained. The slippery slope of ego. Think about a moment in your life when you achieved something great. Maybe you nailed a big project, got a promotion, won an award, or maybe just got praised for something you worked hard on. It felt amazing, right? But then, slowly, something shifted. You started believing the hype. You felt a little untouchable. And maybe, just maybe, you lost sight of the quiet, grounded version of yourself that got you there in the first place. This is what the Stoics called the ego trap, and they saw it everywhere, even in themselves. Seneca's warning, the test of prosperity. Seneca, one of the great Roman Stoic thinkers, didn't mince words when it came to the dangers of success. He wrote, "Prosperity is a more severe ordeal than adversity. For in adversity, a person encounters obstacles that test their strength. But in prosperity, they are corrupted by the admiration they excite. In other words, when we struggle, we grow. When we succeed, we're at risk of drifting away from our true selves." It's not that success is bad. It's that success is seductive. It whispers, "You did this all on your own." It tempts you to feel superior, invincible, exempt from error. But the Stoics knew that nothing could be further from the truth. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who stayed grounded. Let's look at Marcus Aurelius. He was, quite literally, the most powerful man in the world, a Roman emperor, philosopher, and military leader. But even at the height of his influence, Marcus reminded himself daily not to fall for the ego trap. In his meditations, he wrote, "Make sure you're not made emperor. Avoid that imperial stain. It can happen to you." And then he lists who he chooses to be. Simple, good, pure, saintly, plain, a friend of justice, God-fearing, gracious, affectionate, strong for your proper work. This wasn't humility for show. It was discipline, a deliberate act of grounding himself, even when the entire empire told him he was a god. So if the emperor of Rome had to remind himself to stay humble, what about us? The Stoic antidotes, humility and gratitude. So how do we navigate the high tides of success without letting ego steer the ship? The Stoics offer two powerful anchors, humility and gratitude. Let's break them down. Cultivate humility. Start by recognizing a profound truth. Your success is never yours alone. Behind every win, there's a web of support. Family, mentors, colleagues, timing, luck, circumstance. The Stoics encouraged us to see ourselves as part of a whole, not the center of it. When you accomplish something, celebrate, but also reflect. Who helped me get here? What forces beyond my control played a role? How can I use this success to serve others? Humility isn't about downplaying your value. It's about remembering your place in the bigger picture. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is the gentle antidote to entitlement. When you practice thankfulness, genuinely, you soften the ego's grip. You stop asking, "What do I deserve?" and start asking, "What have I been entrusted with?" After every win, ask, "What am I grateful for? What responsibility comes with this achievement? How can I stay rooted in service, not just success?" Gratitude shifts the spotlight away from you and onto the values that made your success meaningful in the first place, bringing it all together. So here's the truth, plain and simple. Success is not the problem. How you relate to it is. When handled with awareness, success becomes a powerful platform for growth, generosity, and purpose. But when inflated by ego, it becomes a trap, a golden cage that hides your best self behind pride. The Stoics weren't against ambition. They weren't against achievement. But they believed that without humility and wisdom, success can become the very thing that leads us astray. So stay grounded, stay thankful, and always remember who you are, not just when you're struggling, but especially when you're winning. In our last lesson, we explored how success, while sweet, can easily inflate the ego, and how Stoic practices like humility and gratitude help keep us grounded. Now, let's look at how we can sustain that grounded mindset, even as the spotlight grows brighter. Humility in action, staying rooted through recognition. Let's be real, success doesn't happen in a vacuum. Behind every achievement is a story, woven with effort, timing, and the support of others. The Stoics would remind us, even when we reach the summit, we didn't climb alone. So how do we keep our feet firmly on the ground, even as the world lifts us up? Let's explore the Stoic tools that help us stay rooted in truth. Recognize the collective nature of success. Every win you experience, every milestone or moment of praise, is not just a reflection of your skill, but also a result of hard work, timely, opportunities, supportive people along the way, a mentor who believed in you, a team that carried the load, a friend who encouraged you when you were close to giving up, or maybe even a lucky break that showed up at just the right moment. Acknowledging this truth doesn't diminish your success. It adds depth to it. It allows you to hold your achievements with both pride and perspective. And here's the Stoic insight. There will always be someone out there who's better, faster, smarter, or further ahead. And that's not a threat. It's a reminder that growth is infinite and ego is optional. Practice gratitude daily. Take a moment each day to step away from what you want and focus on what you already have. Not in a forced or performative way, but with genuine reflection. What are you grateful for right now? It could be the lessons you've learned, the challenges that shaped you, the relationships that sustain you. Gratitude is the anchor that keeps your mind in the present, so you're not lost chasing future goals or stuck reliving past glories. It reconnects you with your humanity and protects your peace. Return to your core values. When success shows up, the temptation to bend your principles can be subtle but strong. Maybe it's a chance to gain more followers by being someone you're not, or a promotion that asks you to compromise your integrity. The Stoics would tell you, don't trade your soul for a trophy. Let your values be your compass. Success should never come at the cost of who you are. Even if it means taking a harder path or making unpopular decisions, choose to remain true to your inner code. That's where real fulfillment lives. Use success to serve others. The Stoics didn't believe success was meant to be hoarded. They believed it was a tool, a responsibility. So ask yourself, how can I use what I've gained to lift others? Can I mentor someone just starting out? Can I be generous with time, wisdom, kindness? Whether through mentorship, generosity, or simply showing up with presence and compassion, success becomes truly meaningful when it ripples outward. Modern-day examples where ego takes over. The Stoic message is timeless, but it feels especially relevant today. Just scroll your feed, turn on the news, or flip through headlines. You'll see plenty of examples of people caught in the ego trap. The celebrity meltdown. They were beloved, celebrated, idolized, but fame inflated their ego. Soon, they were caught in self-destructive spirals, alienating fans, hurting those around them, and losing the very connection that once made them shine. The corporate burnout a high-powered executive climbs the ladder of success, but becomes obsessed with achievement. They sacrifice their health, relationships, and even peace of mind, chasing goals that once inspired them, but now consume them. They forgot what mattered most. The Insta-famous illusion an influencer gets lost in the numbers. Likes, shares, validation. They curate their life for appearance, but behind the scenes, they feel empty, anxious, and out of touch with their true self. The spotlight reveals, but it also distorts. The Stoic challenge: redefining success on your own terms. So here's the Stoic challenge to each of us. Define success for yourself, not by someone else's standards, not by numbers, trophies, or applause, but by your growth, your integrity, your ability to lift others as you rise. Cultivate humility, practice gratitude, stay grounded. Let your character, not just your accomplishments, be the story you're proud to tell. So the next time success knocks, don't just celebrate. Pause and reflect. Ask yourself, how can I stay grounded in this moment? What really matters now? How can I use this to grow and to give? Because true success isn't about reaching the top of the mountain. It's about the person you become along the way. Previously, we explored the power of staying grounded in moments of success, choosing humility over ego. Now let's go one level deeper and talk about something that can sneak in quietly and sabotage even the smartest minds: the illusion of knowing it all. The know-it-all trap. Embracing the beauty of I don't know. Let's be honest, we've all encountered that one person. You know the type. They talk like they've got the universe mapped out. They jump into every debate, interrupt every conversation, dismiss every opinion that challenges their own. They'll confidently explain topics they've barely scratched the surface of, like they've got Google downloaded directly into their brain. It might sound like confidence, but more often, it's something else entirely. It's arrogance dressed as certainty, and it's a trap the Stoics warned us about centuries ago. The wisdom of intellectual humility. The Stoics, those clear-eyed thinkers of ancient times, didn't claim to have all the answers. In fact, they believed that real wisdom begins with recognizing how much we don't know. One of the most direct voices on this subject was Epictetus. He famously said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Sit with that for a moment. Because if you're convinced that you already know everything worth knowing, then what happens? You shut the door. You close the book. You leave no room for growth, no space for other perspectives, no chance of being surprised or corrected. It's like trying to pour water into a cup that's already overflowing. Nothing new gets in. It just spills everywhere. The illusion of omniscience and why it's so common. Today, let's zoom out for a second and look at the world we live in. We're surrounded by voices, loud, confident, opinionated voices. From politicians and pundits to influencers and YouTubers, everyone seems to have an answer, a hot take, a definitive view, and we're rewarded, socially, professionally, even algorithmically, for sounding certain. Certainty gets clicks. Doubt, not so much, but the Stoics would say, slow down, be careful, because real knowledge, the deep, humble, hard-earned kind, is rare, and most of us are walking around with a lot more ignorance than we're willing to admit. Have you ever been that person? Let's be honest here. Have you ever caught yourself chiming in on something you barely understood, just to sound smart, maybe at a dinner party, in a meeting, or during a heated conversation online? Or maybe you've listened to someone rattle on with such certainty, only to later realize they were completely off base. That's what the Stoics would call the illusion of omniscience. It's the mistaken belief that we already know everything we need to know about a topic, or even about life itself. And in the age of information overload, it's easier than ever to fall into that trap. We're bombarded with bite-sized facts, opinions, and surface-level summaries, so much so that we start feeling informed, even when we're not. The Stoic embrace of I don't know. So how do we avoid becoming the know-it-all? How do we cultivate the kind of quiet confidence that's rooted in wisdom, not ego? The Stoics offer a few deceptively simple but incredibly powerful practices. Admit your ignorance. This might sound obvious, but in today's culture, it's radical. We're taught to project confidence, to act like we've got it all together. But the first step toward true learning is the willingness to say, I don't know. Not with shame, not with embarrassment, but with curiosity, because I don't know isn't the end of the sentence. It's the beginning of discovery. Ask questions, even the dumb ones. You've heard the saying, there are no stupid questions. Well, the Stoics lived by it. They believed that genuine curiosity is a sign of strength, not weakness. That asking a thoughtful question, even if it feels basic, is an act of courage. Every question you ask creates a doorway to deeper understanding, and every time you admit you don't know something, you open yourself up to new insight. Detach from needing to be right. This is a hard one, because who doesn't like being right? But the Stoics believed that clinging to the need to be right, to win every argument, to always have the last word, is a surefire way to block growth. Instead, they encouraged detachment. Can you stay calm when someone challenges you? Can you change your mind without losing your identity? True strength isn't proving you're right. It's being open to the possibility that you might be wrong and growing because of it. So, what's the takeaway? The Stoic challenge is clear. Resist the illusion of certainty. Embrace your limitations. Make I don't know a bridge, not a barrier. Because in the grand scheme of things, no matter how much you've read, studied, or experienced, you've still only scratched the surface of what there is to understand. And that's not a flaw. That's what makes life and learning beautiful. In our last segment, we explored the humility it takes to say, I don't know, and how true wisdom begins not with speaking, but with listening. Now we continue that Stoic journey inward to discover what really deserves our time, attention, and energy. The inner circle, the Stoic art of prioritizing what truly matters. Let's face it, modern life is noisy. We're constantly pulled in 1,000 directions. Headlines, opinions, social media, obligations, expectations. It's easy to feel like you're being dragged along by the chaos, rather than steering your own course. But the Stoics offer us a compass, a simple, powerful principle that cuts through the noise and leads us back to what matters. Focus on what is yours alone. Before your mind jumps to a remote cabin in the woods or a life of isolation, let's clear that up. The Stoics weren't monks or hermits. They believed in engaging fully with life, building relationships, contributing to the common good, facing challenges with courage. But they also knew this truth. You can't control everything, and trying to will only drain your energy and cloud your peace. What's truly yours? This question sits at the heart of Stoic philosophy. And Epictetus, the famously blunt Stoic teacher, said it best. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. So, what's up to us? Our opinions, our choices, our impulses, our desires and aversions, our actions, in short, everything that comes from within. And what's not up to us? Our bodies, our reputation, our possessions, our social status, what others think of us, even, on some level, our own health. It might sound counterintuitive, even uncomfortable. But the more we accept what's not in our control, the more power we gain over what is. The futility of chasing the wind. Think about it this way. Worrying about external things, like the economy, the weather, other people's behavior, is like trying to control the wind. You can exhaust yourself trying to push or pull it, but in the end, you'll only end up frustrated and depleted. The Stoics would say, stop trying to control the wind. Adjust your sails instead. In other words, shift your focus inward, not as a form of escape, but as a foundation for meaningful action. The power of focusing on what's yours. When you focus on what's truly yours, your judgments, your values, your choices, you become stronger, calmer, and more effective. You're no longer living at the mercy of external events. You're no longer basing your self-worth on likes, praise, or public approval. You begin to move through the world with clarity and intention, like someone who's playing their game, not trying to win someone else's. Modern-day example. The social media storm. Imagine you post something online, maybe a personal win, an opinion, or a photo you really like. Then the comments start rolling in. Some are supportive, some are indifferent, and some are downright hostile. Now pause. What's in your control here? Your choice to post, your intention behind it, your response to the feedback. What's not in your control? How people react, what they say, whether they agree with you or not. Getting caught up in every comment is like trying to chase clouds with a net. Instead, the Stoic way is to ground yourself in your intention, learn from the experience, and move on, without letting praise inflate you or criticism define you. Another example, career setbacks. Maybe you didn't get the job, or someone else got promoted before you, or your business didn't take off the way you hoped. You could spiral, blame the system, the timing, other people, or you could ask, what was within my control? What can I learn? How do I show up today, despite the outcome? That's Stoicism in action. Not cold detachment, but powerful ownership of what is yours. Freedom. Through focus, paradoxically, the more you narrow your focus to what's truly within your control, the freer you become. You let go of anxiety about things you can't change. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter, and you begin living with a calm, centered strength that doesn't get tossed around by every storm. It's not about shrinking your world, it's about strengthening your foundation, so you can engage with the world more fully, without losing yourself in it. The Stoic challenge, draw your circle. So here's your challenge, draw a mental circle. Inside that circle, everything you can control, your choices, your values, your response. Outside that circle, everything else. The next time you feel overwhelmed or scattered, ask yourself, is this within my circle? Is this mine to manage or something I need to let go of? This simple shift can bring immense clarity. Because the Stoics knew, when you focus on what's yours alone, you become unshakable, even in a world that never stops shaking. Previously, we explored the Stoic concept of focusing only on what's within our control, our thoughts, our values, our responses. Now let's take that idea further, because when you shift your energy inward, not only do you reclaim your peace, you also unlock your true source of power. Owning your energy. How Stoic focus creates freedom and fulfillment. It's easy to feel powerless in a world that's constantly spinning. Economies shifting, people judging, opportunities coming and going. But the Stoics remind us, while we can't control what happens, we can control how we respond. And that response, that's where your freedom lives. There's a hidden power in focusing on your inner world, your thoughts, your judgments, your decisions and your character. And by choosing to invest your energy here, rather than chasing after what's beyond your grasp, you can begin to live with real agency, clarity, and yes, even joy. The Stoic circle of control. The Stoics often used a powerful metaphor to explain this concept, the circle of control. Imagine two circles. In the inner circle, you'll find everything you have direct influence over: your thoughts, your actions, your choices, your values, your mindset, your habits. In the outer circle, there's everything else. External events, other people's opinions, social media, traffic, the past, the weather, the economy, the challenge, and the Stoic invitation is this: don't waste your energy trying to control the outer circle. Instead, master what's inside your own. Not by dominating the world, but by refining your inner world. This isn't about shrinking your life, it's about living it on your own terms. Modern-day chaos, a life of constant distraction. Now let's be honest. In today's world, staying focused feels like trying to write a poem in the middle of a rock concert. We're surrounded by noise, notifications, emails, ads, pop-ups, endless updates from people we barely know. It's like we're juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle across a tightrope. No wonder we feel scattered and overwhelmed. The Stoics would tell us, step back, reclaim your focus. They'd remind us that our attention, our time, our energy is a limited and sacred resource. And if we don't choose where it goes, someone else will. So how do we focus on what's ours alone in this hyper-distracting world? 5 Stoic strategies to reclaim your focus and power. Here are 5 timeless tools from Stoic wisdom that can help you return to what truly matters. Identify your values, what really matters to you. Not what society says, not what trends suggest, but deep down, what are the principles and ideals that guide your life? Maybe it's integrity, growth, service, freedom, compassion. Once you clarify your values, you gain a compass. Every decision becomes easier. You can start aligning your time, energy, and attention with what truly resonates, regardless of outside pressure. Set clear goals. What do you want to create in your life? Whether it's building a career, improving your health, deepening relationships, or contributing to something meaningful, define your vision clearly. When you know where you're headed, distractions lose their grip, and each small step becomes part of a greater path forward. Eliminate distractions. What's pulling you away from your goals and values? Maybe it's the constant scroll on your phone. Maybe it's toxic relationships or obligations that no longer serve your growth. Take inventory, then start gently, intentionally, letting go of what no longer aligns. This isn't about becoming a hermit. It's about creating space for what feeds your soul instead of draining it. Practice mindfulness. Your mind will wander. That's natural, but you can train it to return again and again to the present moment. When you're working, just work. When you're resting, truly rest. Notice when your thoughts drift. Then gently, without judgment, bring them back. This practice, small, quiet, powerful, is one of the greatest tools for building resilience and clarity. Don't be afraid to say, know your time and energy are finite. It's okay, necessary even, to say no to invitations, obligations, or requests that pull you away from your path. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. Saying no to what doesn't serve you is saying yes to what does. The Stoic advantage, a life you truly own. By focusing on what's yours alone, you're not just getting more done. You're building a life that reflects who you truly are. A life with fewer regrets, more clarity, deeper joy. You stop chasing validation. You stop measuring your worth by things you can't control. And instead, you begin to craft a life of depth, purpose, and intention. As modern Stoic philosopher William B. Irvine puts it, the goal of Stoicism is to live a happy life, and one way to do this is to avoid becoming overly dependent on things that are outside our control. This is the heart of Stoic freedom, not isolation, not withdrawal, but inner alignment, a kind of strength that no external storm can shake. In our previous lesson, we made a commitment to focus on what's within our control, to act with intention, and to consciously shape a life that reflects our values. But to live that life, there's one more thing we need to master: being fully present in the moment. The now factor. Unlocking the Stoic secret to presence and peace. All right, friends, let's talk about a concept that seems incredibly simple on the surface, but is surprisingly difficult to put into practice. Focusing on the present moment. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected lives, it's far too easy to get pulled into the whirlwind of past regrets and future anxieties. We constantly find ourselves replaying old conversations, worrying about what might go wrong tomorrow, or endlessly scrolling through social media, comparing our real lives to someone else's highlight reel. Sound familiar? The ancient Stoics, those wise and grounded thinkers, knew something that modern science is only beginning to confirm. True peace, true happiness, is found in the present, not in the memory of yesterday, not in the promise of tomorrow, but right here, right now. Marcus Aurelius on the present. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, put it beautifully in his Meditations. Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Don't fill your mind with all the bad things that might still happen. Stay focused on the present situation and ask yourself, why is it so unbearable? Why can't it be survived? In other words, stop time traveling. Stop letting your thoughts drift into past mistakes or future fears. Bring your attention back, gently, intentionally, to the here and now, because that's where life is happening. That's where the magic is. The time-traveling mind, our minds are like restless time machines, constantly zipping back and forth between memories and predictions. One moment, we're reliving an awkward conversation from earlier today. The next, we're anxiously rehearsing a speech we have to give next week, or worrying about bills, outcomes, what someone might think, or how something might go wrong. While this mental time travel can sometimes be useful, helping us learn from, experience or plan ahead, it's often a major source of stress, anxiety, and unhappiness. Think about it. Have you ever lost sleep worrying about something that hadn't even happened yet? Or spent hours obsessing over something that already passed, wishing you had said or done things differently? In those moments, you're not actually living. You're mentally elsewhere, missing the joy, the beauty, and the opportunities right in front of you. You're letting your mind steal you away from your own life. And that's a recipe for burnout, dissatisfaction, and regret. The Stoic practice of mindfulness. So how do we escape this mental hamster wheel? How do we return to ourselves, reclaim our presence, and actually experience our lives as they unfold? The Stoics, once again, have an answer. It's something that's gained a lot of attention in recent years, but its roots go back thousands of years. That practice is mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness, at its core, is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It means noticing your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations as they arise, allowing them to exist without clinging to them, without resisting them. Returning, again and again, to what's happening right now. You don't have to sit cross-legged for an hour on a cushion to do this. You can practice mindfulness while brushing your teeth, while walking, while talking with someone you love. Even while doing the dishes, it's not about doing nothing. It's about being fully here with whatever you're doing. Why the present moment matters. When you train yourself to return to the now, you unlock more than calm. You gain clarity, patience, resilience, and a deeper appreciation for the ordinary moments of your life. You stop existing on autopilot and start experiencing the fullness of life. One breath, one step, one heartbeat at a time. This is what the Stoics meant by living wisely. The Stoic invitation. So here's today's invitation. Let go of yesterday. Don't rush into tomorrow. Instead, give your full attention to this moment. Notice your surroundings. Feel your breath. Listen, truly listen, to the people around you. And when your mind wanders, because it will, simply bring it back, without judgment, without force. Because no matter what happened before or what might happen next, right now is all you truly have. In the previous lesson, we explored the power of being fully present, of anchoring yourself in the here and now. But how do you actually practice that presence in everyday life? Let's take that Stoic wisdom and bring it down to earth through simple, actionable tools you can start using today. Simple Stoic practices. Bringing mindfulness into daily life. You don't need a mountaintop, a meditation app, or a silent retreat to live mindfully. Mindfulness isn't about escaping the world. It's about meeting life exactly as it is, with clarity and attention. It's about choosing to wake up to the moment you're already in. Here are some everyday Stoic-inspired mindfulness practices that are simple, powerful, and totally doable, even in the middle of a busy day. Focus on your breath. Start with the breath. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice the cool air as it enters your nostrils, and the warmth as you exhale. Your breath is always there, steady, grounding, and ready to bring you back to now. A few seconds of conscious breathing can interrupt the storm of thought and return you to stillness. Engage your senses. Turn everyday moments into sacred ones by paying close attention to your senses. Listen to the sounds around you. Birds, wind, distant traffic. Notice the light and shadow in your space. Feel your feet on the ground. Savor the warmth of your coffee or the chill of a breeze on your skin. The more present you are with your senses, the less trapped you are by your racing mind. You stop rushing past life and start inhabiting it. Observe thoughts and emotions without judgment. When thoughts or emotions arise, don't push them away or chase after them. Simply notice. You can even label them if it helps. This is anxiety. This is irritation. This is anticipation. But don't get lost in the story. Don't believe every thought that pops up. Watch it come. Watch it go, like clouds passing through a clear sky. This is the essence of Stoic self-awareness. Practice. Gratitude mindfulness isn't just about paying attention. It's also about appreciating what's here. Pause and name something you're grateful for right now. Hot drink. A stranger's smile. The simple fact that you're alive and breathing. Gratitude reconnects you with what's real, what's beautiful, and what's enough. Modern-day mindfulness. Ancient wisdom in a modern world. These days, mindfulness has become a buzzword. You see it on book covers, hear it in podcasts, and even find it marketed in wellness apps and corporate training programs. But don't be fooled. Mindfulness isn't a trend. It's a timeless discipline rooted in ancient wisdom. And yes, the Stoics were ahead of their time. They practiced awareness, reflection, and presence, not just as a technique, but as a way of life. And the science agrees. Modern research supports what ancient Stoics already knew. Mindfulness can reduce stress and anxiety, improve focus and decision-making, boost creativity, strengthen emotional resilience, improve sleep and mental clarity. It doesn't take hours of meditation. Even small moments of conscious presence can radically shift your day and your life. The Stoic advantage: living deeper, not faster. The Stoics didn't meditate to escape life. They practiced presence so they could live it more deeply. When you're present, you notice the beauty in small things. You connect more honestly with others. You stop drifting and start choosing how to live each moment. As modern Stoic author, Ryan Holiday says, "The present moment is all we have, so let's make the most of it." A Stoic invitation for today. So here's the challenge. Be more present. Starting now, put down your phone. Turn off the noise. Look around. Breathe. Feel. Don't wait for a perfect moment of peace. Find presence in this one, the only moment that's ever truly yours. Let Stoic wisdom remind you, You weren't born to rush through life. You were born to live it, fully, clearly, deliberately. In our last lesson, we explored the power of presence, how anchoring ourselves in the now can help us live more fully and mindfully. But being present doesn't mean blindly trusting everything we see, hear, or feel, because sometimes even our senses can deceive us. Let's talk about a tricky truth the Stoics knew well. We can't always trust our perception of reality. Lesson 12. The sensory illusion, the Stoics' reality. Check. Here's something that might surprise you. What you perceive isn't always what's real. Your experience of the world, what you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, isn't raw truth. It's a filtered version, shaped by your brain, your past, your expectations, and even your emotional state. And if you're not paying close attention, you can easily fall victim to illusions, misinterpretations, or flat-out falsehoods without even realizing it. The tricks of the mind. Let's bring this to life. Have you ever seen a mirage? You're in a hot, dry landscape. Up ahead, you see what looks like shimmering water. You walk closer, only to realize it was just the sun dancing on sand. Or maybe you've heard a strange sound at night. Footsteps, a whisper, a creak. Your heart races, your mind imagines the worst. And then you realize it was just the wind brushing against a branch. These moments are more than just spooky or strange. They're proof that our senses can play tricks on us. Your brain is constantly trying to make sense of limited information, filling in gaps, constructing stories, and shaping meaning from fragments. Most of the time, this works beautifully. It helps us function, make decisions, and react quickly. But sometimes, it leads us far from the truth. The Stoic approach to sensory input. So, how do we protect ourselves from being misled by our own senses? The Stoics weren't cynics, but they were cautious. They understood that perception is powerful, but also prone to distortion. Here's how they approached sensory input, with skepticism, curiosity, and discipline. Question. Your perceptions don't accept what you see, hear, or feel at face value. When something triggers an emotional reaction or seems off, pause and ask, is this what's really happening? Or am I interpreting this through my personal biases, fears, or assumptions? That gap between stimulus and response, that's where Stoic wisdom lives. Seek multiple perspectives. One viewpoint is rarely enough. Try looking at the situation from another angle. Talk to someone else. Ask questions. Gather more data before forming a conclusion. Sometimes, a fresh perspective is all it takes to break the illusion. Use reason and logic. Don't let emotion cloud your judgment. Instead, apply reason. Analyze the facts. Ask yourself, what's the evidence? What do I know versus what do I feel? By slowing down and engaging your rational mind, you can reach a clearer, more accurate understanding of the situation. Practice. Present moment awareness. When your senses send you signals, pause before interpreting them. Notice what you're experiencing, the colors, textures, sounds, but resist the urge to instantly label or judge. Instead, stay with the raw data of the moment. Be curious, not reactive. Modern-day examples. Stoicism in the 21st century. Let's bring these ancient insights into the digital world we live in today. Social media. Envy. You're scrolling through Instagram. You see a friend looking radiant on a tropical beach, smiling with a cocktail in hand. Suddenly, you feel small, behind, inadequate. But pause. Take a stoic breath. Remind yourself, social media is a highlight reel, not the full story. That friend may be smiling in that moment, but you don't know what they're feeling underneath, or what struggles they've been through. Comparing your reality to someone's curated image is like comparing a rough sketch to a polished painting. It will always leave you feeling less than. Misreading conflict. You're in a conversation. Someone raises their voice. Their tone seems sharp. Your instinct, defend yourself, get upset, maybe fire back. But what if they're not angry? What if they're just passionate, stressed, or misunderstood? Instead of reacting, the Stoics would tell you, pause, observe, ask. Don't let your senses or your assumptions fuel a fire that reason can calmly extinguish. Why this matters: when you blindly trust your senses, you open yourself to error. When you train yourself to pause, question, and analyze, you step into clarity. The Stoics weren't trying to make us skeptical of everything. They simply wanted us to be awake, discerning, and responsible for how we interpret the world. Because the truth is, our emotions don't just come from what's happening, they come from how we perceive what's happening. Change your perception, and you change your world. The Stoic challenge for today. So here's your challenge. Next time your senses fire up, whether it's something you see, hear, or feel, don't react immediately. Instead, pause. Ask, what else could be true? Ask, am I seeing clearly or emotionally? Ask, what's the fuller story here? Because wisdom begins when we admit we don't always see clearly and choose to sharpen our vision. In our previous lesson, we explored how our senses can deceive us and how the Stoics taught us to pause, question, and look beneath the surface before reacting. But even once we've sharpened our perception, there's another major challenge we face in daily life: keeping our minds focused. The focus formula. Taming the wild monkey. Mind. Let's be honest, staying focused has never been harder than it is today. We live in a world of constant noise, buzzing phones, endless notifications, open tabs, breaking news. Our minds leap from one thing to the next like a monkey swinging from branch to branch, rarely pausing, rarely present. And this isn't just a modern problem. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers of discipline and clarity, also struggled with distraction, though their world looked very different. Still, they recognized something profound. If you can't control your attention, you can't control your life. The Stoic advantage: focus as a superpower. When you train yourself not to blindly trust every sensory impulse or thought that arises, something powerful happens. You become more discerning, more thoughtful, more compassionate, both with others and with yourself. Modern Stoic thinker Mimo Pikoi puts it this way: the ability to question our perceptions and challenge our assumptions is a key component of critical thinking. It allows us to see beyond the surface and understand the true nature of things. And that's exactly what focus helps us do: cut through the noise and connect with truth. So today, let's take that one step further. Let's talk about mastering our attention in a world that's designed to scatter it. The modern crisis of attention. Imagine this: you sit down to work on something important, but before long, a notification pings. Then an email pops up. Then your mind reminds you to check your messages or scroll through just one more video. Sound familiar? We live in a world that rewards distraction, and it's draining our energy, our clarity, and our ability to think deeply. The Stoics didn't have smartphones, but they understood the cost of scattered attention. Seneca's timeless insight. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." In other words, if your mind is pulled in 1,000 directions, you're not really anywhere at all. You're floating, untethered, missing out on the richness of the moment in front of you. You become like a butterfly, fluttering from flower to flower, never landing long enough to enjoy the nectar. The multitasking myth. In today's culture, multitasking is worn like a badge of honor. We pride ourselves on being able to answer emails during meetings, scroll social media while watching TV, plan dinner while driving to work. But here's the hard truth: multitasking is a myth. Neuroscience has shown us what the Stoics intuited long ago. Your brain isn't wired to do two complex things at once. What you're really doing is task switching, rapidly bouncing between tasks, losing efficiency and increasing stress each time. It's like trying to play a piano concerto with one hand while texting with the other. Sure, you're hitting keys, but you're not making music. What the Stoics taught about focus. The Stoics believed that concentration wasn't just a skill, it was a virtue, a way to cultivate clarity, strength, and control over your life. Here's how they approached focus. Be where you are. When you're eating, eat. When you're working, work. When you're resting, rest. Stop blending activities together. Give your full attention to one thing at a time. Not only will you do it better, you'll enjoy it more. Guard your attention. Like treasure Epictetus taught that our attention is one of our most valuable assets. Would you leave your door wide open and let anyone walk in? Then why do we leave our minds open to every ping, buzz, and impulse? Turn off unnecessary notifications. Create protected time blocks. Give yourself permission to focus. Train your mind to return. Distraction is natural. Your mind will wander. But when it does, gently bring it back. Not with judgment, but with discipline. This is the practice. This is the training. Over time, your attention becomes stronger, steadier, and more under your command. The Stoic challenge for today. So here's your mission. Start small. Choose one task today and give it your full attention. Turn off your phone or put it in another room. Set a timer. Stay with the task. Notice the pull of distraction. Gently return. And when you're done, pause. Reflect on how it felt to be fully present, even just for a little while. Because every moment you reclaim from distraction is a moment you give back to your life. In our last lesson, we uncovered the myth of multitasking and how true clarity comes when we direct our attention toward one thing at a time. But recognizing the problem is only the beginning. The real question is, how do we retrain our minds to focus deeply in a world that constantly pulls us in every direction? That's what we'll explore today. The power of single-minded focus, the Stoic formula for mastery. It turns out the Stoics were far ahead of their time. What they understood intuitively, modern neuroscience has now confirmed with brain scans and cognitive studies. True productivity, creativity, and clarity come from giving one task your full attention. Not just dabbling, not kind of paying attention, but deep, deliberate, uninterrupted focus. When your mind is fully engaged, something remarkable happens. You enter a state of flow. Ideas connect. Decisions come more easily. You get more done and feel more fulfilled doing it. This is what the Stoics called single-mindedness, the ability to direct your focus with intention rather than letting it be hijacked by impulses, distractions, or endless to-do lists. Stoic practice of single-mindedness. So how do you break free from the madness of multitasking and begin cultivating a sharper, more focused mind? The Stoics offer a clear and powerful roadmap. Here are 5 strategies you can begin using today. Prioritize ruthlessly. Not all tasks are created equal. Take a hard look at your to-do list. Ask yourself, what's truly important? What actually moves? The needle in my life or work? Don't let the urgent crowd out the important. Start your day with the task that matters most, not the one that screams the loudest. Create a distraction-free environment. You can't expect to focus in a space that's built for distraction. Silence your phone. Close unnecessary browser tabs. Turn off push notifications. Find a quiet space, or create one. Set yourself up for success by designing an environment that supports your intention. Practice time blocking. Instead of reacting to whatever comes up, plan your focus. Assign specific blocks of time to specific tasks. When it's writing time, just write. When it's family time, just be with them. Time blocking trains your mind to enter tasks with clarity and leave them behind with peace. Embrace deep work. Set aside chunks of time, ideally 60 to 90 minutes, for intense, uninterrupted work on your most important projects. This is where your highest quality output will come from. No multitasking, no switching, just deep engagement. This is the type of work that builds careers, moves ideas forward, and sets you apart in a distracted world. Make mindful transitions. Even the Stoics knew that switching gears is inevitable, but instead of jumping from one task to another in a mental blur, try this. Pause. Take a few deep breaths. Acknowledge the task you just completed. Set a clear intention for what's next. These simple moments of awareness help protect your energy and prevent your mind from feeling scattered and rushed. Modern day examples where focus falls and flourishes. Let's see how this ancient Stoic wisdom plays out in today's fast-paced reality. The app hopper. This person switches between emails, social media, messaging apps, and videos every few minutes. They feel busy, but in reality, their attention is fragmented. They finish the day drained, yet oddly unaccomplished. With Stoic focus, they'd choose one app, one task, one purpose, and do it well. The open office worker. In a noisy workspace filled with conversations and interruptions, this person struggles to concentrate. They try using headphones, maybe even hiding in a meeting room, but the noise still seeps in. By applying Stoic discipline, they take control of their environment. Set boundaries with co-workers. Use noise-cancelling tools. Block focused time in their calendar and protect it like gold. The overwhelmed student. Juggling classes, part-time work, social life, and endless deadlines. This student feels like they're drowning. But with Stoic prioritization, they'd begin identifying what truly matters. Which assignments require deep focus? Which can be minimized or deferred? Where can they create quiet time to think, reflect, and learn deeply? Through structure, they regain peace and excel. The Stoic advantage: presence, performance, and peace. By cultivating single-minded focus, you're not just boosting productivity, you're upgrading the quality of your experiences. You become more present in your life, more engaged in your work, and more satisfied by the things you accomplish. You stop rushing through tasks. You stop living on autopilot. You start savoring the satisfaction of a job well done. Modern Stoic writer Cal Newport puts it perfectly in his book, Deep Work. The ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare. At exactly the same time, it is becoming increasingly valuable. Those who cultivate this skill and make it the core of their working life will thrive. Today's challenge: train your focus. So, let's make a commitment. Starting today, tame the monkey mind. Focus on one thing at a time. Prioritize what truly matters. Eliminate distractions with intention and build deep, meaningful work into your daily rhythm. Because the Stoics didn't just seek calm. They sought clarity, mastery, and purpose through the disciplined use of attention. And so can we. Previously, we talked about the power of deep work, the kind of focus that creates real impact. But once you've learned to channel your attention, there's one more skill that elevates you from good to great: the power of restraint. The quiet power of restraint. The Stoic art of less is more. Let's wrap up this series on unbiased thought with one final Stoic principle, one that's subtle, often overlooked, but incredibly powerful. It's about choosing quality over quantity, not being the loudest voice in the room, not chasing every task, every opportunity, or every conversation, but instead learning to do less with greater purpose and greater presence. And no, this isn't about becoming a monk or retreating from the world. It's about being deliberate. The Stoics weren't passive. They weren't silent. They were purposeful, intentional. They spoke with meaning, acted with conviction, and knew when to hold back. The noise of busyness. Let's be real. Modern life is noisy. Have you ever had one of those days where you're running from task to task, constantly refreshing your inbox, switching apps, answering messages, skimming articles. But at the end of the day, you feel completely empty. You're exhausted, but not fulfilled. Busy, but not productive. It's like being in a constant sprint, but never really getting anywhere. You feel like you're doing everything, but nothing seems to move forward in a meaningful way. The Stoics would see this as a warning sign. They believed that constant busyness, the obsession with more, faster, louder, is often just a distraction. It drowns out the silence that might otherwise show us something deeper. The Stoic alternative: deliberate action. The Stoics believed that true fulfillment doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters, intentionally, clearly, and calmly. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote, "Don't be a person of too many words or too many deeds. Be cheerful, not needing outside help or the validation others may bring. A person must stand on their own, not be propped up." What he meant was simple. Don't get lost in the noise. Don't chase empty motion. Choose your actions carefully. Speak only when your words add value. Act only when your effort aligns with purpose. The Stoic practice of restraint. So, how do we actually live this out? How do we resist the pull of constant activity and embrace the calm clarity of less, but better? Here are a few timeless Stoic strategies to help guide you. Prioritize ruthlessly. Not everything deserves your time and energy. Learn to separate the essential from the trivial. Focus on high-impact tasks, those that align with your values and goals. Delegate or eliminate the rest. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing what matters most and doing it well. Practice mindfulness. Be where you are. When you're writing, write. When you're eating, eat. When you're resting, rest. Avoid multitasking. Resist the urge to check your phone every 5 minutes. Let each task, each moment, have your full attention. Choose your words carefully. Speak with intention. Avoid gossip, idle chatter, and reactive language. Let your words reflect your character, your clarity, your thoughtfulness. As Epictetus taught, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Embrace silence. You don't need to fill every moment with sound or activity. Silence is not emptiness. It's space for reflection, for clarity, for listening to the quiet truths within you. Solitude, too, is not isolation. It's an opportunity to reconnect with what's real. Modern-day examples: less noise, more meaning. Let's bring these lessons into the world we live in today. The social media addict. This person posts constantly, checks likes obsessively, and refreshes feeds endlessly. They mistake visibility for value. But what if they stepped back? What if they chose fewer posts, but with deeper meaning? What if they spent more time living the moment than documenting it? The overscheduled achiever, their calendar is packed. Meetings, calls, to-dos, events. They're in motion from dawn to dusk, but feel strangely disconnected from themselves. A Stoic approach would ask, what can I cut? What can I simplify? Where can I create breathing room for what really matters? The talkative colleague, always the first to speak, always needing to contribute. But often, their words fill space without adding value. With Stoic restraint, they might pause, listen more, speak less, but with more impact. The Stoic advantage: peace, presence, and purpose. By choosing restraint over reactivity, you cultivate mental clarity because you stop chasing every impulse, emotional calm because you're not constantly stirred by noise. Greater impact because when you act or speak, it truly matters. You stop filling your time with low-value activity. You stop talking just to fill silence. You begin creating space for thought, for depth, for real connection. Modern Stoic thinker Cal Newport says it best. The ability to perform deep work is becoming rare. At exactly the same time, it's becoming more valuable. But deep work doesn't just mean intense focus. It also means knowing when not to act, when not to speak, when not to fill the void. Final challenge: embrace restraint. So today, ask yourself, can I do less, but better? Can I pause before I speak? Can I choose to act? Only when it's intentional. The Stoics weren't minimalists for the sake of minimalism. They were intentionalists, masters of the inner world. They knew that true power often speaks in a whisper, not a roar. In our last lesson, we explored the quiet power of restraint, how doing less with intention can actually create more impact, peace, and clarity. Now, let's bring this lesson into real-world scenarios, and then take a step back to look at the big picture of everything we've learned. Modern distractions, timeless wisdom, living with intention in a noisy world. Let's take a look at how Stoic restraint, or the lack of it, shows up in everyday modern life. The constant poster, you know the type, always posting, always commenting, always sharing, chasing likes, scrolling endlessly, checking who's viewed their story, thousands of followers, endless validation, but beneath it all, emptiness. They often feel disconnected from themselves, like they're playing a role rather than living a life. Why? Because they're so busy being seen. They've forgotten how to simply be. The Stoics would gently remind them, true connection starts within, and external attention means little if it costs you your inner peace. The busy bee entrepreneur. This person is the embodiment of hustle culture, always networking, always pitching, always attending another event or posting another win. On the surface, they're crushing it, but look closer, and you'll often find burnout, broken routines, strained relationships, and a body begging for rest. The Stoics would say, success means nothing if it comes at the cost of your health, your values, or your presence with those you love. What's the point of reaching the top if you're too exhausted to enjoy the view? The overcommitted parent. Their heart is in the right place. They're doing everything to give their children every opportunity. Sports, music lessons, play dates, academic extras. But they're constantly on the move, often running on empty, and, in trying to give their kids everything, they risk missing the most precious thing of all: unhurried, meaningful time together. The Stoics would say, don't confuse motion with meaning. Presence, listening, simply being together. That's where the richness lives. The Stoic advantage. Intentional living in every moment. When you embrace restraint, when you act with intention, you're not just simplifying your life, you're upgrading it. You're no longer reacting, you're choosing. You're not chasing everything, you're focusing on what actually matters. This is the Stoic advantage. As contemporary Stoic author Ryan Holiday writes, the key to a good life is not giving a care about more. It's giving a care about less. Giving a care only about what is true and immediate and important. So today, let's pause. Let's stop trying to do more just for the sake of it. Let's speak more carefully, act more deliberately, and choose more wisely. By doing so, we reclaim our peace, we reclaim our time, and most importantly, we reclaim ourselves. Bringing it all together. A Stoic mind for a chaotic world, and there you have it, friends. Over the course of this episode, and throughout this entire Stoic series, we've taken a deep dive into the art of unbiased thought. We've uncovered 10 powerful, timeless lessons to help us cultivate a clear, objective, and resilient mind. We've learned how to guard our mental space from negativity and noise, challenge our assumptions, embrace intellectual humility, live with focus, intention, and presence, from philosophy to practice. The Stoics weren't just thinkers, they were doers. They didn't sit around theorizing, they applied these principles daily, navigating political chaos, personal loss, public duty and private doubt, all with clarity and grace. And so can you, because Stoicism isn't just a set of quotes, it's a way of living. It's a mindset that helps you stay grounded during emotional storms, builds mental discipline in an age of distraction, trains you to focus not on outcomes, but on your effort, your virtue, and your choices. Let this be the beginning. So, as we wrap up this episode, the fourth in our Stoic series, let this not be the end, but a starting point. Take these lessons and bring them into your daily life. Notice how your thoughts shape your experience. Be mindful of the influences you allow into your mind. Reclaim your focus and embrace the present moment, not as an escape, but as the only place you can truly live. Spread the wisdom. If you found this episode valuable, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with friends, family, or anyone you think could benefit from a little more clarity and calm. Because in a world filled with noise and confusion, we need more people who think clearly, act wisely, and live deliberately. Let's be those, the people. Let's keep walking this path together. As we wrap up this episode, take a moment to reflect. What would your life feel like if your mind was truly your ally? Clear, focused, and free from unnecessary noise. That's the gift of Stoic practice. It's not about perfection. It's not about suppressing emotions or retreating from life. It's about engaging with life more intentionally, with calm, clarity, and conviction. When you commit to cultivating a more peaceful, resilient mind, you open yourself up to a deeper kind of fulfillment, one that doesn't rely on likes, applause, or outside circumstances, because it's rooted in your own discipline and perspective. So wherever you are on this journey, whether you're just beginning or returning to these principles, know this: you're not alone. You're walking a path trodden by some of the wisest minds in history. And each step you take towards stillness and self-mastery is a step toward real freedom. The discipline of action. Join us next time as we move into part 5 of our Stoic series. In that episode, we'll dive into one of the most powerful ideas in Stoicism, the discipline of action, and more specifically, the courage and clarity it takes to take the right action, even when it's hard, unpopular, or uncertain. We'll explore how the Stoics transformed intention into behavior, how they didn't just think wisely, but lived boldly, because wisdom without action is wasted, and courage, when guided by reason, becomes unstoppable. Until then, stay stoic, so until we meet again, keep those stoic vibes high, guard your mind like a fortress, nurture your thoughts like a garden, speak with care, act with purpose, and above all, remember, your mind is your most powerful tool. Use it wisely, and you'll unlock a life of meaning, clarity, and possibility. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If you found this episode valuable, be sure to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs it. Let's continue spreading this timeless wisdom together.